You're listening to Imperfect Heroes, Insights into Parenting, the perfect podcast for imperfect parents looking to find joy in their experience of raising children in an imperfect world. And I'm your host, DJ Stutz. Welcome, everybody, and thank you for joining us again for another episode of Imperfect Heroes, Insights into Parenting. And today, as pretty much always, I do have an awesome podcast, I'll have to say, but I love the topics that we have. And today, we're just talking Carrie Lingenfelter, and she has the host of her own podcast. It's Heart to Heart. Totally worth the listen, guys. She does it every week. Go listen. You'll be glad you did. But we're talking about those relationships and how kids pick up on our attitudes, the attitudes of the other adults around them, and then how they take that and move that into their own relationships then that they have, like maybe with siblings, with friends, with classmates, and all of that. But before we get started, I just want to let you know, I don't know if anyone knows, but I also have a blog. And we've got a ton of great articles and information that's there. And all you have to do is just go to www.imperfectheroespodcast.com/blog. You're going to find so much information there about just all kinds of different topics. See something that is hitting you in your moment. We all have our moments, and that's going to help you out. Okay, let's get going and get started. All right. So, Carrie, let's first talk 30 seconds about Heart to Heart and then your whole program that you do.
Yeah. So thanks so much for having me, DJ. Yes, I was a teacher just like you, and I also was a speech therapist. And I used to go into homes and work with kids who weren't talking yet in early intervention. And so that really gave me this inside window into what parenting sometimes looks like in the homes and how parents are seeking to connect with their kids in so many different ways. It was really interesting during that time because I got to see how parents sometimes became so desperate that we would fill in all of these gaps for our kids and trying to fill in the words for them even so they wouldn't necessarily think they had to talk. So that led me down the path to eventually becoming a mom. And I didn't know anything when I became a mom. I thought I knew everything.
Did any
I
of
was
us,
so prepared.
honestly?
Oh my gosh. I was like, husband, you don't need to do anything. I am specialized in this. I got this. I got it all. But yeah, as soon as I became a mom, I felt like I threw it all out the window. I was like, what is going on here? But yes, so I started Heart to Heart Parents a year and a half ago, working to help parents connect with themselves as parents, as we're learning and growing in our own way as parents, learning to help connect our kids and see our kids as who they truly are, meeting them with their strengths and their challenges. So that's where Heart to Heart Parents originally started from.
I love it. And you and I, we've had some conversations and it's been over some time now that we've been able to get to know each other a little bit, but we are so connected, I think, on our attitudes and our desire to help parents succeed through understanding.
Yes.
Understanding how children develop and how they interpret and what are typical and atypical experiences. And the atypicals are just fine too.
Yes. Yes.
If everyone was typical, how boring.
I am starting to think that the more we learn about typical, atypical, neurodiverse is a huge term right now. And, a lot of people don't understand that even when you say neurodiverse, it also includes gifted and talented kids. So that window is even bigger for how many people fit into this bubble. So at first, I didn't think I was part of it until I started looking into it more. I'm like, oh, gifted and talented. That was me. That was me as a kid and also very sensitive. And there was a term that I was curious if you had heard of. Have you heard of the term empath?
I have.
Yeah. So I love using that term. I think that term really helps us to understand that our kids, and that's something everybody in my house is an empath. We're all very sensitive people in our house. And so my husband and I didn't really think about that when we started having kids, and then realizing we're picking up their energy when they're having a meltdown because their socks feel funky or they can't get their coat on or they have 18 layers for the snow. And we're like, just fix it, fix it, fix it. Especially as a mom with my hormones, I didn't realize I was taking on a lot of that energy and it would make me feel more anxious in my body. So I love to share the term empath just because as we're thinking about it as parents, also our kids are picking that up. So if I'm having a bad day at work, if my husband comes home and he's in a little bit of a funk, I kind of will say, go take a break, go clear it out, go for a run, go sit and meditate or calm down yourself, go sit in the sauna, something to cool off, because my kids are so sensitive and such big empaths in our house that they can feel that energy and think that they're doing something that's off.
Right.
Just wanted
And
to open
I
up
think
with
that's
that.
very typical reaction with most kids. If anything goes wrong, somehow it's my fault. So you see that in like children of divorce.
Yes.
Daddy left or mommy left because of me, rather than seeing the whole picture and knowing it had nothing to do with you. It was the whatever parents going on. And in fact, you know, it's even typical for 3 or 4-year-old to think the sun comes up on that side of my house and goes down on the other side of my house, because it's like that close to, it's all about them, their experience. They don't see that bigger thing just yet. They will. And so when we talk about that empathic thing, even before we were just starting here, I was talking to you about a little boy. So I help out at school 2 days a week. And I work with children who have emotional, behavioral, sometimes violent outbursts in how they manage their emotions. And I don't work with this kiddo very much. I'm not in first grade very much, but, you know, he's a little spicy. We call him a spicy kid. And it's funny because in Thursday afternoons, I'll be out during recess. I do some yard duty with the little guys, so kindergarten through second grade. And I'm looking all around because I didn't see this one little boy. Usually he's pretty easy to find. And so I didn't see him. And so I asked one of the other kids, I'm like, oh, I don't see Johnny. And they're like, oh, no, he's on the swings today. Oh, amazing. Great. And so, and they're like, he's always in trouble. He's, you know, they were just kind of like, we don't want to play with him because it's always in trouble or whatever. And it just breaks my heart with that, because yet she's a good teacher, but she's not very nurturing. She's very regulated, rules. This is this, this is this. And that's not kind of who this little boy needs. And because he's going through a lot of trauma currently in his life, and he's 6, right?
Yes.
So how is he going to manage that? But it was funny when I said, you know, I think Johnny really just needs a friend. He needs a friend that will play with him and help him to make good decisions. And they're like, really? You think so? I'm like, yeah, that's what I think. And the little kid that I was talking to was in second grade, so not even in the same grade. But a couple of minutes later, you know, you're walking around doing your thing as the, you know, duty teacher. And I saw the little kiddo that I had just been talking to was pushing this Johnny on the swings. Wow. And so sometimes I think our kids just need that reminder that you have a power to make someone's life better or easier or to help them make. And also a reminder for us as adults that this teacher isn't going around saying, I hate Johnny, or Johnny's this or Johnny's that. But the kids pick up on it. Yes. And they do that all the time with, it may be their teacher, it may be a neighbor lady, it may be a leader at church, a coach on a team. And everybody knows who the kid or kids are that clash with the adult in charge without anybody saying a word.
It's so true that these kids are, sometimes it's labels, sometimes it's the energy that they're picking up from the responses around them, but they often can embody how others are reacting to them, right? And so a huge piece, I myself am raising 2, I call them gifted, spirited, or spicy, and highly sensitive kids is kind of what I refer to them as. But I'm helping them to learn. We're working to empower them with these gifts that they have, these heightened sensitivities, these extra big feelings of putting on socks or having pants on their legs and not liking the feeling of the material. But we're looking to empower them. Like, wow, you can feel the energy in a room. You can feel, and we verbalize it. You can feel that Johnny is feeling really sad today and you want to play with them because you notice that they're feeling down. So talking talking about those and helping them to feel empowered in those heightened sensitivity pieces. Also, with those big emotions, it's so interesting because so many of these kids, they just want to be heard. When my kids are having
So
a
much so.
meltdown, I love the term, how can I help you? Like, what can I do to support you right now? Mom wants to help you. Mom wants to see you. I see you. I see that struggle you're going through right now, and helping them to feel heard in those moments.
Boy, I so agree with you. And I find this, I've raised 5 kids of my own. I've got 13 grandkids. I'm the oldest of 7, 5 brothers. Thank you very much.
Oh my goodness. Wow.
And I know, so kids are like I have no life without kids in there.
Yeah.
And then my work at the school, trying to help them out, and then just the work I do with coaching parents and doing that kind of stuff. You see that. But I think too that we have the ability to, if someone comes up, and you'll get a lot of school references with me because that's what I currently have. But let's go back to our Johnny, right? And Johnny's throwing snow at everybody. It's like, oh, okay. Well, let's get Johnny and you stay here too. But then I send everybody else away. It's none of their business. Go away. Because they all want to come in and see, right?
What's going on? Yeah.
Yes, what's going on? Ooh, he's in trouble again, right? And so we just talk and say, okay, so Johnny, I heard that there was some snow flying through the air. How did that happen? I didn't even say you threw snowballs.
Yeah. Yeah.
I just heard that there was this snow flying through the air and landing on Mikey here. I don't know. I'm just throwing out names. And that flying snow landed on Mikey. How do you think that happened? And I have had him say, well, it was in the air because I threw it. But because I wasn't like, bah, 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 you know what I mean? But because I took a different thing, now he feels free to be honest with me. And then I can say, Mikey, how did that make you feel? Well, I didn't like it. Well, did it hurt you? No, I'm not really hurt. I just didn't like it. Okay, that's good news. So Joey, why do you think you were throwing that snow? And and one time it was, like Mikey called me a loser, and it made me mad.
Yeah.
Oh, so okay, Mikey, what do you think about that? Well, and they don't want to be in trouble, but I'm like, is it true? That's another thing I do too. Is that true? Is Joey honestly a loser? No. I'm like, oh, so Joey, it was a lie. It's not true, right?
Yep.
And so, and so we kind of have those kind of conversations. And then I'm like, well, so we heard a lot of stuff. How can we make this better? I don't say go play and be nice. I don't ever. How do you think you guys can make this better? Is there a way that you two can maybe even be friends and play nicely together? And they're like, yeah. And so Mikey will say, I won't call him a loser anymore. And Joey will say, I'm not going to throw any more snow. Sounds like you got it handled. You guys are wonderful. Go. You're fine. Now we're enabling them to solve problems, to own what they did without fear of anger or retribution from the adult. I'm just facilitating. I'm just here helping. And now they're picking up on a different vibe. When you talk about that empathic child, they're picking up on, I trust you. I believe in you. And so that's an approach that I take with kids, and I can encourage and train parents in how to do that, because it does take some work. It's not something you just want to come in and make it stop. Make it stop, right?
Yeah. Oh, parents are asking to make it stop. It's hard. We're busy parents and work is stressful. Life is stressful as a parent in the nowadays life that we live in. It's a lot of parents have to both work and to afford our cost of living nowadays. So, that's a big thing that I touch on sometimes for parents too, is sometimes there is this emotion that bubbles up in us as parents is make it stop, make it stop. Or my kid isn't listening. Why aren't they listening? I want to be in control. I want them to listen to me. I want them to do what I say. But also looking back as a parent too, there's so much that homework we have to do ourselves as parents. Like, why do I need to control my kid? Why do I feel like I have to control every situation, every moment, every feeling my child is having? Why is it that I'm frustrated that my kiddo won't listen to me and do it exactly in that moment? Why do I need it right that moment? Why does it have to be done So there's so much pieces that come up as a parent too, and thinking about our role and our healing that we can go through. So 2025 for me, I actually termed it Light Me Up. It's a year to learn, grow, and heal. So when challenges come up, I look inside, if I'm having a challenge with my son, what does this challenge mean? I try to look at the core root. Is there pieces that I need to heal and grow in myself? And this challenge is telling me something about my son that he may need to heal and grow in as well, or to connect with me in.
Yeah.
So I love that for
sure.
parents.
And I wonder, and maybe you can give me some ideas about this, but how much of that comes from us feeling judged when we were kids?
Oh, totally. Right?
You didn't do this right. You didn't do this right.
Yes.
I think sometimes we get confused in our emotion with wanting to truly be successful or wanting others to think we're successful. So when we have a child that just got in trouble for throwing rocks on the playground or is having that meltdown in the cereal aisle in the grocery store because they wanted the Cocoa Puffs. So I think, because I did this as well. So I'm not saying, oh, you parents, because trust me, I was there, and your kiddo's having the meltdown and you're thinking, who's looking? They're going to think I'm a terrible parent and I need to get control of this. And instead of really looking at, okay, here we are. And now it's just a room. To me, that grocery store is a room with just me and my child.
Yeah. Yeah.
And we can say, yeah, throwing the temper tantrum isn't going to get you the Cocoa Puffs. And I understand that that's really upsetting to you. You can choose to have your tantrum here, and that's fine. I'll just go down and do some shopping on the other end of the aisle if you want to stay there. Maybe you need me to stay close to you. We can go out to the car. You start giving them some choices about where once a child has permission to cry, it's no fun anymore.
Yes, it takes the power out of it, right?
Takes the power away from it. Never tell a kid to quit crying. First day of school. Kindergarten. Imagine, right? There's always someone crying. Always someone crying. And I would just say, I'm so happy you're crying. And they're like, what? But it's like, that means you miss your mommy. And if you miss your mommy, that means you love her. And isn't that a wonderful thing? So when you're ready to stop crying and come be a part of us, that is fine. But you can come sit by me. I always had a beanbag chair in my room or where they could go if they wanted. And then you come join me when you're ready. And it worked every time. I mean, not, I can stop crying now. But I mean, it was a lot less amount of time of them crying rather than if you're there. Don't cry. Don't cry. It's okay. Stop crying. We're all right. Mommy's going to come back. And it's like, geez, you're pretty anxious. Maybe I should be upset and worried.
Yeah. Yeah. The fix it. They're trying to fix it, right? Sometimes you see that. The fix it. I think I love what you did for those kids, right? Because you allowed them to express and feel those emotions and work through those emotions. You allowed them. I love this Brene Brown. I don't know if you've heard of her research.
Yes.
I love her. So she had mentioned once, were you a high maintenance child? Like she said when she was a kid, and I know I felt this when I was a kid, I wasn't allowed to be a high maintenance child. I had a lot of emotions as a kid. I was an empath, highly feeling kid, and I wasn't allowed to express those emotions. It was like, stop being so sensitive, or it's really not that bad. Or it was my mom like, let me fix it. You're okay. Like, stop crying. It's okay. So allowing those kids to be the high maintenance child, I'm using quotations, right? Because it's not being high maintenance per se. It's being a human and expressing and feeling those emotions. So if you were not allowed to be a high maintenance child, so many times we see that reflected as a parent later on, where we're trying to fix it. We're trying to calm them down. I know recently I was on an airplane yesterday coming home with my kids from Disney World. So we were exhausted. And I had my kids, they were allowed to watch movies on the plane, which we normally don't do any technology, but we're like, this is like a 4-hour flight. So we're okay with some movies.
Absolutely.
Here we go. But I had all their little fidget spinners and chewies, and we had snacks, and I was constantly giving them all these little things and talking to them. And I know, oh yes, I hear you. You're feeling frustrated that we're still flying and you're ready to land. I'm feeling that too. I'm feeling a little nervous. It's a little bumpy right now. That makes me a little nervous. So I was expressing all these things and talking to my kids. This lady behind me said, you did such a good job with your kids. Your kids were so well behaved. You had all these tools for them. And I love the way you talk to them and you voice what's going on and you express. as an example how you're feeling right now. And so they can feel heard and seen. And you did such an amazing job of like, oh, thank you. I also have my giant bag of tricks here that I bring with me. But, in that moment, I look back and I'm like, oh, little Carrie, the childhood Carrie inside of me was like, oh, good job. She said you're a good parent. Pat on the back.
Yes.
Where is that coming from, right? Little Carrie.
That's totally there. And another thing too is one of the things that I work with, and as we have like Johnny out on the playground who's always in trouble, or I actually have had kids blame a child. So-and-so just hit me. So-and-so's absent. We're so used to blaming this kid for everything that we do that. And so we set up those things. I think too, like when we're on the airplane and talking about, there are other people here and they're a little nervous about flying too. They have maybe a little bit scaredness in them, or they're exhausted too. And so they might need some rest. And so when we can help them to, in addition, let's help meet your needs, but let's also help you meet other people's needs.
Yeah.
As well, and be thoughtful about that. Like, I think Johnny just needs a friend. Instead of sitting and complaining about it, I trust you to be like, you can figure this out. Yeah, you came up with a great solution. Go try that. I'm excited for you. Yeah. And when we can teach our kids that there's that kid in the neighborhood that seems to always be in trouble. Well, maybe we need to help him make good choices and be that friend that says, no, let's not do that. Let's go and do something else over here. Let's be thoughtful of the other people on the plane. And I've got all these fidgets and I know that you're tired. I know that you're this. I betcha you're not the only one feeling that way on our plane today. So we want to make sure you're feeling comfortable, but we want to make sure others around us, whether it's a classmate, a sibling, other people on the bus, whatever.
Yep. Getting up for older people to sit down. That's a big one. Yes, teaching empathy and compassion for other people. And also a big one that I love to talk to parents about too is modeling empathy and compassion for ourselves, for our children. Wow. I love to express to my kids, say, I just took my kids shoe shopping. This happened last summer. We went shoe shopping. It was a lot of emotions. We needed the perfect style, the perfect fit. This was too tight. This was too loose. We got home. Mom was exhausted because I have very spicy, as you term, or spirited children. And I was exhausted. And my kiddo was like, well, Mom, I want you to come do this with me right now. I want to do this. I'm like, okay. So I'm going to be honest here, buddy. Mom has spent 2 hours shoe shopping with you guys. She's exhausted. She needs 10 minutes to recharge. You go find something to do for 10 minutes while I can recharge my energy, because right now Mom's energy is down here and I need Mom's energy to come back up here before I can be a good mom and be in the zone with you and have fun with you. So then in 10 minutes I don't have a phone out and present with them, but I use that a lot with my kids because I don't want to give them half of Mom. I don't want to be texting and be there. I don't want to do that. I want to be fully present with them. So teaching them that compassion of moms and teaching them that energy level of Mom's energy is down here. Mom needs to do some self-care for herself and show some compassion for herself so she can be fully ready to engage fully and be present with you. So we love to do that one.
Love that. And I love the example that you're setting. I think too, another thing that I use and I encourage with parents that I'm coaching, I love timers. They're my favorite.
Yes.
They're so fun. So if you set a timer, if you set 10 minutes, 15 minutes, 20 minutes, and they have a timer, you're in charge of this timer. Hold the timer so that when it goes off, you can come and get me. And then I've got and I have found personally in my teaching, in my coaching, that when kids have that and it's tangible, it's there, they can see it. And there are some timers you can buy and it has like this red line. And then as the time goes and the time gets shorter, closer to it going off, the line gets shorter. It's very visual, especially
visual timers. Yep.
Yes. And so then they're in charge and then they can come, timer went off. Thank you, buddy. That was so nice that you held on to that. You helped me remember. You can give them that. And then you can. So out of the 13 grandkids, we have 13 personalities, right? And So one of them, my middle daughter, she has 2 kids, and her older is the son, and he has his own individualities, and sometimes he needs to just be alone, and he's 9 years old now. But since he was even little, he just needed time alone sometimes, and that's his thing. He's very rule oriented, blah blah blah. His sister is the exact opposite of him. Like they could be they are so different. And she's like, "Fine, hey, come play." And she's just big personality and does not like being alone. But sometimes Sylvan just needs that time, and Iggy can be a little much. Although I find her absolutely hysterical, but I'm Nana. And so her mom, my daughter, will set the timer and say, Sylvan needs some time alone. And then that's also for Sylvan saying, Iggy needs some time with you. Iggy isn't her real name, it's the nickname, but Iggy needs some time with you. So we're going to set the timer for a half hour. You can go and lay in the dirt. He loves dirt. And so you can
That's wonderful.
Isn't it? And then whatever you want to do, when the timer goes off, then Iggy gets some time that she needs. Because what she needs is you. And isn't that a wonderful thing that she loves you that much? And as opposite as those 2 kids are, they really do get along very well. Yeah. Very well. Yeah. But I love that in showing that need for self-care for mom, and then showing them how they can get that need met for them and have that established, and it's a routine. And we know that when someone's hit this limit, we're going to let them take care of themselves, meet their needs, and move forward.
Yeah, and really verbalizing it. I think verbalizing like you do, you've mentioned so much, but teaching them how to identify their own emotions, their own energy levels, to identify what's bothering them. Oh, that itchy sock. And part of that too goes along with when we were talking about the empowerment I had wanted to mention but forgot. I love to tell my kids this big emotion that's coming out right now, this is not who you truly are. This is just a piece of what we're seeing in you right now. Let's name it. Let's name it Angry Zoe. I don't know. Let's name it a silly, sometimes we come up with silly names, which I can't think of right now, but we can name it a silly name and laugh at it, and understanding, yes, that sometimes erupts in us because we're kids and we're growing and we're exploring and we're trying new things as a human. Sometimes I even say being a human can be hard. Being in our human body can be hard. It can be loud. Food can taste funky. Lights can be bright. Sometimes socks can feel uncomfortable. So we love to name it to tame it. I think Dan Siegel always says that, name it to tame it. But yeah, like you said, using all of this vocabulary and teaching them. Can you imagine where these kids are going to be when they are 40, 60, 80 years old, if they're already naming and feeling and identifying all of these emotions? Like, what kind of world would that be? That sounds amazing.
And think too, like, I don't know, I'm an old fart. So my grandparents were around, like my grandpa Benyon, on my dad's side, they had the first car in town.
Cool.
Yeah.
So fun.
And my grams and pops, they're my other side, and they were the lumberjacks. And
there was not a lot of emotions there, I'm sure.
They would take a horse and wagon into town. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, and so it was like, dig down, get it done, which I believe in. Dig down, get it done, you know, and that we do hard things, and that you are totally capable of this. I can help you with, but at the same time, it's okay to feel sad. And for lumberjacks, farm people, now I live by farm people, never done that before. And it's like, you took your cat to the vet? What?
Yep.
I even had a neighbor, and their cat, it was a cute kitten, fell out of a tree, broke its leg. She took it to the vet, and, they got it all. And now it's going to be an inside cat because it has to. And she's like, oh. And her husband's like, do not tell anybody. We took this cat to a vet and paid to have its broken leg fixed.
To save it.
Yes. And so, I mean, it's a very different culture, different mindset, Yep. And it was just a cat. Well, no, it was my kitty, and I love that kid. You know what I mean? Yeah. And so I think that there's a balance between let's dig down deep get her done, work
Yep.
ethic,
The grit.
honesty,
Yep.
all
Yep.
all those pieces of grit. But then that we can balance that with, I understand that you're feeling this way. Talk to me a little more about that. You know, do you have any ideas on how we can help this work or whatever? We still have to get our work done, but I think that we really can find, and I think the pendulum, because the pendulum swung way too far the other way. With
Definitely. Yeah.
kids never having to solve a problem, helicopter, lawnmower parents, you know.
Lawnmower. That term.
Oh man, they mow down any competition that gets in the way of their kid. They just mow it down.
Yeah, I've seen that. I've seen that. I remember teaching first grade, and we would have the parents who would pull all of the books out of their backpacks, put it all away for them, get their water bottle set up, their lunchbox. I'm like, oh, no, wait. This is your child's job right now. That's a first grade duty. That's something we have to learn. And that's something you want them to become their own human. So yes, I remember that. That was the I think that was the 2000s, like you were talking about.
Yeah.
That pendulum.
Yeah. And so now I think we're coming back in, and I'm hoping we don't swing too far the other way, but find that balance in the middle where, and that we aren't labeling other kids like Joey's the bad kid.
Yeah.
Right. Because Joey's going through a lot of trauma right now that you don't know anything about. You don't need to know about it. But Joey is struggling with very grown-up problems, and he's 6.
Yep.
Right. And so, we've got some neurodiversities with all of the crap that's going on, right?
Yes.
And so, you know, we need to be patient. And I see that with a lot of kids, And in fact, when you can present it to them that way, they're really open to it. Kids are great. Kids have a good heart. Kids,
they do.
Yeah.
Kids don't look at other kids. I mean, it's not till the older years, I feel like, where they look at them like, what are you doing? Most of the time they're like, oh, that's Joey. That's what Joey does. I love what you're saying when we're working on this balance right now, and humanity is trying to figure out this balance with this neurodiversity pieces. We're understanding, we're seeing goals in speech therapy. I was taking some courses recently. I was talking about the goals are looking to empower the children. The goals used to be about having the child blend in. So you would look in the classroom and you wouldn't be able to tell who was neurodiverse. It was about blending in or masking or being part of the crowd, fitting inside the perfect box. And we would teach them the skills to fit in the box. But now our goals are looking at what are the strengths that this child can bring for themselves? What are the challenges and supports that they need for themselves? And then we're also teaching grandparents. I love this, that you're a grandparent, and you know, I had to teach my mom and dad, yes, I'm parenting my kids a little bit different. It looks different. Here is why we do it. And I started to show them the reasons why and how, if we acted a certain way, it could affect this for them. So how we had to prepare the environment for them, or help them work through certain situations, or bring my 85 items in my backpack on the airplane so they had something to spin while they're sitting seated for 4 hours. But, you know, educating all of the different generations about what we're doing. So that way, when my kid is starting to lose it in the mall and I'm escorting them out, I don't get the "you're a bad parent" look. I get the "ooh, you're going through something hard right now" look. I see you trying your best and doing what you can for them.
Yeah. In fact, some of my favorites, so I've had a couple of grandparents who have wound up helping out with childcare with their grandkids, or some out and out raising their grandkids for whatever reason. And they're like, what do I do? Everything's changed, right?
It is. Yeah.
My favorite group, and I've only had one family come to me with this, but you know, I do group coaching as you do. And it was 2 parents and their 3 grown children. And so we took the 5 of them, and between the 3 grown children, there were like 7 kids. And they all lived like, I don't know, within 2 or 3 miles radius of each other. So tons of interaction with this family. And they wanted to have everyone kind of be on the same page so that they're getting the same thing when I'm at Aunt Susie's house. Get that out. Or, you know, at Grandma and Grandpa's house or whatever.
Yeah.
And so we did a 6-week thing, but it was this generational thing where they were all getting the same information, making the same agreements and having amazing conversations among themselves. But because there's outsiders here kind of mentoring them through it, they were able to say some things that had been on their mind, concerns that they had. This is why I'm worried about this. This is why I'm worried about that. And it's funny, the same tools that I use with my kids on the playground, I was using with the family.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it worked so well. And they were so happy at the end of the 6 weeks. So yeah, grandparents reaching out, wanting to understand better because we've learned more scientifically about how the body works, how the brain works, blah, 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 than we knew 10, 15, 50 years ago. And so it's great to reach out and figure those things out and to be a part of it. So you don't just need to be a parent to look for ideas.
No, it's so wonderful. And when parents bring the grandparents into it and explain why it may look different, it is definitely hard as a parent too, because it's so easy to want to go back to how you were raised, the way that you were spoken to. You want to go into that. But oftentimes, so many of these kids, especially if they are in the neurodiverse area, it can feel like you're speaking another language at times, for sure.
Yeah. But at the same time, I kind of feel like it's blown out so exponentially, the number of kids that are neurodiverse, that I just kind of feel like, they're just another kid. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, it's not that they're that unusual child. You have dyslexia, you have ADD, ADHD, autism, all of these different things. But there's so many of them that maybe when again, old. But, when I was going through, either you behaved or you didn't. It was like not all, we didn't worry about peanut allergies. There was nobody, I never knew anyone with a peanut allergy until after I started teaching. And it was years into teaching that I even had a kiddo with a peanut allergy.
Yeah.
You know, and so, and now it's just so common. And so I think there's an opportunity here too, though, to say, oh yeah, that's just Joey. And I'm just me, and we're different. And that's
who we are. Yeah.
Is great, and that is fine. And we're so eager to, let me slap this label on you. And let me slap this label on you. And here's another label. You get a label, and you get a label, kind of a thing. But we're so anxious to label things instead of just saying, that's just Joey.
Yep. That comes back to balance. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Totally balance, right?
Well, we've kind of gone over in time because I like talking to you. What can I say?
We could go on for hours. We could talk about all the things we have in common. DJ, it's very fun.
I know. I love when people agree with me and realize how right I am about everything, right?
It's the teacher in us. It's enjoyable.
It does. Well, listen, before we go, please share with everybody how they can find out more. Where do they get to Heart to Heart? Where can they find you and the services that you provide?
Yeah, so we have Heart to Heart Parents. It's on podcasts and Spotify. It's also on YouTube. I'm on Instagram a lot. I'm doing uplifting ideas for parents and cheesy laughing at myself ideas with a crunchy mom raising her kids, all natural over here. But I love to joke around and make parents laugh because I think we need that in our lives. I'm also on my website, hearttoheartlife.com. Yes. 4-hour flight with the kids. I kind of am a little brain dead this week, but that's where we're at. Well, Disney World is fun.
That'll do it. Well, and then preceded by Disney World. So that's not exactly invigorating. It's exhausting.
We had our day of fun. Yeah. Thanks so much for having me, DJ.
Absolutely. And before we go, I always ask my guests the same question because we know there are no perfect parents. But some parents do seem to be more successful than others. How would you describe just a successful parent?
Yes, I would say connecting with them, seeing them for who they truly are, and meeting them where they're at. Yeah, that's my favorite piece of wisdom.
Yeah. Quit worrying about what should be, and concentrate on what is.
Yes.
And then 100%. What's the next step? Yeah, 100%. Oh, I love it.
Yep.
I love it.
Yep.
So everybody, follow, subscribe, leave a review. Yeah. 5 stars is the appropriate number of stars to leave. And in the meantime, I've got my 3 books that are out there, and they are all about this emotional equation and siblings and not having to be the same as your friends and valuing the individualities. And so if you want to look, just look under DJ Stutz author. I'm on Amazon, Barnes & Noble, all the sites, and feel free to pick up a book or three as we go. So guys, I'm so excited, and I just have the best guests. I know I have the best guests. It's so much fun. So anyway, until next week, let's find joy in parenting. See you guys. Thank you so much for sticking around to the end of today's episode of Imperfect Heroes. Parenting is truly one of the most rewarding journeys we can take. But let's face it, it can be incredibly challenging, and sometimes we make it harder on ourselves than it needs to be. The good news is that with a little bit of work up front, there are practical steps you can take to bring more peace and joy into your family life. I am passionate to share these strategies and insights with you. If you're ready to step on the path to joyful, effective parenting, I invite you to schedule a family checkup. Just click on the calendar link in the show notes below, schedule a time that works perfectly for you, and let's work together to create a more harmonious and happy environment. And remember, every small step that you take today makes a big difference. So thank you again for joining us, and until next time, let's find joy in parenting.